There is a restaurant near you that sells the same dish at two different prices, at the same moment out of the same kitchen cooked by the same person. Walk in the door and it's $12. Open the app and it's 15. Nobody told you. There's no asterisk, no note, no delivery pricing label. The photo is the same, the description is the same, and the number underneath it is quietly different. And by the time that $15 dish reaches your door, you will have paid something closer to 28. Most people, when they see that receipt, get angry at the fees. The fees are the decoy. The real move happened before you ever got to the checkout screen. It happened on the menu itself. And the strangest part of this whole story is what I'm going to show you at the end. After all of that, after every markup and every fee, the app delivering your food spent most of its existence losing money on you anyway. Let's get the obvious part out of the way because you've seen it and you've complained about it. You order, and the checkout screen unfolds like a tax return. Delivery fee, service fee, small order fee if you dared to order one thing. A regulatory response fee in some cities. Taxes on the food, and, depending where you live, on some of the fees. And then, at the very end, the tip. Pre-selected, at a percentage of a total that already includes everything else. That's the part everyone can see, and it's genuinely a lot. But here's what I want you to do. Take that $12 dish and add up every visible fee on the screen. Do the arithmetic. In most orders, it doesn't get you to 28. There's a gap. And that gap isn't hidden in the fine print at the bottom. It's hidden at the top, in the one number you never thought to question, because a menu price is supposed to be a fact. To find it, you have to stop looking at your receipt and go look at the restaurants. Because there are two invoices in every delivery order, and you only ever see one. When a restaurant signs up with a major delivery platform, it doesn't pay a flat monthly fee. It pays a percentage of every single order, and that percentage is large. DoorDash publishes its rates openly, in 3 tiers, 15%, 25%, or 30%. The cheap tier gets you listed. The expensive tiers buy the things that actually determine whether anyone finds you. The Dash Pass badge, a wider delivery radius, featured placement in the feed. And on top of whichever tier you pick, another 2.5% to 3% for payment processing. Sit with that number for a second, because I don't think it lands until you compare it to something. A credit card takes 2 or 3%, and restaurants complain about it constantly. A commercial landlord in a good location might take 10% of revenue as rent. This is 15 to 30 on the top line. Not the profit, the revenue. The app isn't charging a fee. It's taking a cut of the business. Now put that number next to how restaurants actually make money, which is barely. Full-service restaurants in the US run on net margins in the low single digits. The figure the industry generally works with is 3 to 6% in a good year, and plenty of surveys land under that. That's what's left after food, labor, rent, gas, insurance, repairs, and the guy who fixes the walk-in at 11 at night. 3 to 6 cents on the dollar. So do the collision. A dish sells for $12. The platform takes, let's say, 30% of that, $3.60. The restaurant's entire profit on a $12 dish, at a healthy 6%, was about 70 cents. The commission is 5 times the profit. This is not a squeeze. This is not tight margins getting tighter. This is an order that loses money the instant it's accepted, every single time, forever. And a restaurant that fills its kitchen with those orders doesn't grow. It cooks its way out of business, at volume, while the sales chart goes up. So the owner has 4 options, and 3 of them are bad. Option 1. Refuse to be on the apps at all. That works right up until the day your regulars stop searching the street and start searching the app, and to them you simply cease to exist. Option 2. Eat the commission and hope volume saves you. It doesn't. You can't make it up on volume when the volume is what's losing the money. Option 3. Cut the food. Smaller portions, cheaper ingredients, and watch your reviews collapse on the exact platform you're trying to survive on. And then there's option 4, the one almost everybody takes. You raise the price, but not everywhere, only inside the app. Your dine-in menu stays $12 because the person sitting at the table isn't costing you a commission. The app menu goes to 15 or 16 because that person is. And just like that, the restaurant is running two menus out of one kitchen, a real one, and a defensive one built to absorb somebody else's fee. This is the mechanism, and it's beautiful in the ugliest way because of where it hides. Every fee on your checkout screen is a separate line. It has a name and a number, and you can see it and be annoyed by it and comparison shop against it. The markup is not a line. It's baked into the price of the food. It is structurally invisible. Not because anyone lied, but because a menu price doesn't come with a history. You've never once in your life seen an item and thought, I wonder what this costs in the building. And I want to be careful here, because this is where most explanations of this go wrong. When you see a headline saying delivery costs 80% more, that number is real. One comparison of 10 chains found ordering through the apps ran about 80% above walking in, roughly $9.30 on a typical order. But that figure is everything stacked together. The food, the fees, the taxes, the tip. It is not the menu markup. When Consumer Reports went item by item instead, comparing app prices against the restaurant's own listings, they found something messier and more honest. Of 46 items they could compare, 25 were priced identically, 14 were more expensive in the app, and 7 were actually cheaper. There is no clean national number for the markup, and anyone who gives you one is guessing. But here's what matters more than an average. On your order, tonight, you have absolutely no way to know. The app can tell you the exact delivery fee to the cent. It cannot tell you what the restaurant charges its walk-in customers. That comparison, the only one that would reveal the markup, is the single piece of information the interface never gives you. And it works because of how you evaluate a price. When you open a delivery app, you're not comparing a dish to the same dish in the restaurant. You're comparing it to the other dishes in the app. Everything on the screen has been marked up, so nothing looks marked up. The reference point moved and took the whole shelf with it. It's the same reason nobody flinches at a stadium beer. The entire building agrees on a fiction, so the fiction reads as the price. Delivery apps built a stadium out of every restaurant in your city, and you're standing inside it every time you're too tired to cook. Quick thing before the next part, because the next part is where it stops being about your dinner and starts being about who's allowed to set prices at all. If you like seeing the machine under the marketing, that's this whole channel. A new hidden economics breakdown every week. Subscribe so the next one finds you. Now, a reasonable person hearing all this would say, fine, then I'll just order direct. Call the restaurant or use its own website and pay the real menu price. Good instinct. It was also for a long time contractually blocked. Several of the major platforms operated with what are known as price parity clauses, terms that required a restaurant to charge no more on the app than it charged anywhere else, including on its own website and on its own phone. Think about what that does. The platform takes up to 30% and then forbids the restaurant from telling you there's a cheaper door. The restaurant can't offer you a discount for skipping the app because that discount is a breach of contract. So the only legal way to survive the commission is to raise the price everywhere, or to raise it in the app and quietly hope nobody notices, which is exactly what happened. In April of 2020, a group of diners sued over exactly this in federal court in New York, Davitashvili against Grubhub, arguing the clauses inflated prices for everyone, including people who had never opened a delivery app in their lives. The case has spent years fighting over whether it can even be heard in a courtroom rather than forced into private arbitration. In March of 2025, an appeals court ruled it can proceed against Grubhub. It has not been decided. But the design intent is the tell. A fee you're not allowed to route around isn't a fee, it's a toll. Then cities got involved, and this is the part of the story that actually finishes. During the pandemic, when restaurants were surviving on takeout alone, a wave of local governments capped what the platforms could charge, commonly 15% for delivery plus a few points for everything else. New York made its cap permanent in 2021. San Francisco did the same. So did Seattle. On paper, that's the fix. Watch what happened to all three. In the capped cities, new charges appeared on the customer's side of the receipt. Line items with names like a regulatory response fee, $1 to $2.50, showing up in precisely the places where the restaurant's bill had been cut. DoorDash added charges like that in 57 of the 68 jurisdictions that capped it. The money didn't disappear. It moved one seat over from a fee the restaurant pays to a fee you pay, and it kept its receipt. And then the caps themselves came apart. The platform sued San Francisco, and in 2022, the city rewrote the law to let them charge above the cap for optional extra services. Seattle wrote the same escape hatch into its own ordinance. And New York, the strictest of them, the one that held out longest, settled in June of 2025, and the council amended the law to allow a stack of optional add-on fees on top of the cap. 5 years of fighting, and the ceiling has a door in it. But look at what the restaurants got in that settlement, because it's the whole episode in one clause: the explicit right to charge a different price in the app than in the dining room. The thing this entire story is about, the second menu, stopped being a quiet defensive maneuver and became a codified legal right. Nobody is hiding it anymore. It's just that nobody tells you either. So by now, you have a villain. Restaurant marks up the food. App piles on fees. City tries to help. App invents a new fee. Somebody at the top of that chain must be getting rich. Here's where it falls apart. For most of its existence, the American food delivery industry did not make money. Not made less than it wanted. Lost money at scale, year after year, on billions of dollars of orders. DoorDash's own filings tell it plainly. It lost $461 million in 2020, $468 million in 2021, then $1.365 billion in 2022, its worst year. $558 million in 2023. Its first profitable full year in company history was 2024, and it made $123 million on $10.7 billion in revenue. Uber's delivery arm hit its first positive quarter on an adjusted basis at the end of 2021. And that's adjusted earnings for that segment, not actual net profit, which is a distinction the industry would prefer you not make. And then there's Grubhub, which is the clearest gravestone in the business. A European competitor bought it for $7.3 billion. 3.5 years later, it sold it to a startup for $650 million. Grubhub carried around $500 million in debt. So after that changed hands, the seller walked away with roughly $50 million. $7.3 billion in, $50 million out. That's 99% of the value gone in a business that takes up to 30% of everything it touches. That should be impossible. You're paying $28 for a $12 dish, and the company delivering it was, for a decade, setting money on fire. So follow it, because the money is real and it goes somewhere. The biggest piece of your delivery fee is a person. A human being drove a car in traffic, using their own gas, their own insurance, their own brakes to bring you a bag. New York actually did the arithmetic on this. Before the city intervened, its delivery workers were making about $5.39 an hour before tips. The city studied what the work actually costs: the unpaid time waiting for an order, the gas, the insurance, the wear, on a vehicle nobody reimburses, and set a floor, $17.96 an hour before tips, starting at the end of 2023. It's indexed to inflation, so it has climbed every year since. Today, it's $22.13. Note what that means. An independent regulator, looking at the same delivery you paid $28 for, concluded that the labor alone had been underpriced by a factor of 4. Then add everything around it: the credit card processing, the customer support agent who handles the missing drink, the refund when the order shows up cold, the insurance, the mapping infrastructure, and the enormous marketing budget spent buying you as a customer in the first place. Each individual delivery is a small logistics operation with a real, stubborn cost floor, and it turns out that floor is very close to, sometimes above, what anyone is willing to pay for it. That's the whole industry in one sentence. It's expensive to move a burrito, and nobody wants to pay what it costs. Which raises the obvious question: if the deliveries barely pay for themselves, what's the actual business? And the answer is the one you'd expect from any platform that gathers enough people in one place. Increasingly, the money is in advertising and placement. Restaurants paying to appear higher in your feed, to be the sponsored result, to win the 2 seconds where you're hungry and scrolling. Plus subscriptions, the monthly membership that kills the delivery fee and turns you into a habit. Notice the direction of travel. It stops being a courier company and becomes an attention market where restaurants bid against each other for you. funded by a commission that's already more than their profit margin. The restaurants aren't customers of this business. They're inventory. And you're not the customer either, you're the traffic. So let's total up the damage honestly, because it isn't a story about one greedy party. You pay more, twice, once in a markup you can't see, once in fees you can. The restaurant hands over a share of revenue that exceeds its entire profit and takes the blame for the higher price, because the price with its name on it is the one you're looking at. The driver absorbs the vehicle costs and the unpaid waiting. And the platform, having extracted from all three, spent years failing to convert it into profit. Everyone in this transaction feels squeezed, and they're all correct. That's the signature of a system where the convenience is real, but nobody has figured out who's supposed to pay for it. So it gets charged to everybody, a little at a time, in ways designed not to be added up. I'm not going to tell you to never order delivery. Sometimes it's raining, sometimes you're sick, sometimes convenience is genuinely worth paying for, and that's a real thing to buy. But change one habit. Before you order, look up the restaurant's own menu, its website or the paper menu or just the photo of the board, and compare the number to the one in the app. Do it once, not to save $3, but because it converts an invisible price into a visible one, and you'll never be able to unsee it. And when the gap is big, order for pickup or call them, and understand what actually happens when you do. Nearly all of that money stays in the building where the food was made. The strangest fact in this entire episode is that the cheapest way to buy dinner is still the oldest one. You, walking through the door at the price on the wall. In one line, the fees were never the trick. It was a second menu, priced to hide someone else's cut. The priciest prices are the ones you never think to question. Want to see this taken further? A company that invented its own currency, sold it to a bank, then shrank its value at will. That's right here. See you soon.